if this job sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and it could be a form of money muling in the long term.
You know, there's an old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
If something's too good to be true, don't do it. Please. I just wish if I could turn back time, I wish I could tell my younger self not to do it.
Cathal Buggy is my name. I'm a sergeant in Garda Síochána with responsibility for the Cavan Community Engagement Unit, Arva, Killashandra and Ballian sub-districts. I am in Garda Síochána for 23 years. A money mule is a person who allows or facilitates their account to be used for the transfer of illegally obtained funds into that account. The money will stay there momentarily, where it will then be moved on in the direction of other accounts. There's a number of different methods used to recruit money mules. The most significant one that we have seen is mule herding. That is the person who will enlist family and friends, college mates. They'll sell it as 100% legitimate, easy, fast cash. They'll tell them about the other people they know and the stories of how easy it has been for those people. They'll obtain their bank details, and from there the money will be lodged to their accounts. We also have romance fraud. That's where somebody builds up a relationship with someone online, from there deceive them, account details are handed over and the transactions begin to take place. And then lastly, the fraudulent job offers. So we've all seen the offers online of work from home, you're a rep for a local rep for a company abroad. Generally, if this job sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and it could be a form of money muling in the long term. This is the money that runs through the money mule account. So it's fraudulent activity online, it's cybercrime, it's phishing and smishing. So what that is where we'll say criminals will pose online as a bank or a financial institution or a service provider. We've all received a text message, click on the link. That's how they will access your smart device and then your accounts. In addition to that, then you have the unsolicited emails. That's where you'll receive an email to click on a link, and it's from there that they will be able to access your money. People can protect themselves from money muling by not giving their bank details to anybody, keeping their online access codes, their CVV number, their cards secure. And in addition to that, we'll say unsolicited emails or texts where you're invited to click the link, that you just don't click on those links, because that is how they will access your smart device or your account details. The most recent statistics I would have would be, we'd say 18 to 24-year-olds, about 44% of money mules come within that bracket. So we find it's very important to educate the 4th, 5th, 6th years, those entering college, in relation to maybe being subject to an offer to be a money mule. We've run a number of very successful education pieces within County Cavan. Credit unions of Cavan have been hugely supportive of that with us. We've gone to every school in the county. We've run a number of events here locally in the Kilmore, where we have had schools ranging from Bailieborough across to Cavan and over to West Cavan. Yeah, I believe the education piece we've been running for the last 2 years is definitely getting across to the pupils. We're seeing more and more reports where we'll say from instant messaging or social media where there's offers online that they're coming in and they're reporting them here. I think it's important that we continue to do that to increase the awareness. Definitely, I think even in terms of unsolicited emails and clicking on links, those reports are coming in more and more where people are having awareness that there's something not right. There's huge consequences for conviction for money muling. It comes under Section 7 of the Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Act of 2010. It carries a penalty of up to 14 years in prison. But in addition to that, if you are convicted of a money laundering offence like Section 7, you will have problems down the road in terms of finance applications, if for a mortgage or if you're looking maybe for employment in the finance sector can obviously cause problems there. And of course, any criminal conviction, if you're looking for a visa to work or to travel abroad, it can have huge implications. In my experience, people are never successful in money muling. The offers that are provided to the person and the promises do not materialise, but unfortunately the person still is left with the consequences of being involved in the act.
I was contacted at a house party. Basically, a friend of mine told me about this money making scheme, and he said that he would help me get loads of money in a short space of time, and I agreed to it. And then that's when the no caller ID started a few days later, and they asked me for my PAC and my PIN and my online banking and stuff like that. I responded by answering the calls, and I gave them over my details, but I knew not long after I gave my details that I made a mistake, but I felt like I couldn't get out of it. I felt like I was trapped in a situation that I couldn't get out of. What happened then, it was about 4 weeks after I gave my details, and they kept ringing me in the no caller ID, and they kept saying to me, we have to get this money. They came to my home and they took me to a big town, and I took out 2 large sums of money, and basically they left me in the streets with no way home. I was promised thousands. Basically, I was told that I'd get thousands within a week, and that's why I was like, right, okay, I'll do it, and I'll get I'll get this, and then never have to think about it again. But that was not the case. Why I decided to get involved initially was because I thought it was a quick money making situation. I would see I have issues in my life, and I was young, I was only in my teens, and I was struggling to think how I would pay for these things, and I thought this would help me. But how naive was I? Coming to the end of it, yes, I thought it was wrong. I thought that I did not want to do this, but I was too far gone in this situation that I couldn't get out of it, and I done my best to try and get out of it, but I knew I couldn't get out of it, and I didn't know who to turn to. I really didn't know who to turn to and who to get help for, so I just kept going with it, and I was afraid for my life. I was a victim because they told me that I was going to get like all this and all that and everything, and I got hardly nothing, and I got abandoned. I didn't know where to get the money from. I was just aware that I had to take this money out and half it with them. The whole experience was traumatizing, between going to court, between facing the judge, between potential prison sentence, between sitting with people that I didn't know, strangers, big men. I wouldn't want to do it again. No. It was the most traumatizing situation I've ever done in my life.
John Callan is my name. I am a superintendent attached to Cavan Garda Station, and I have responsibility for uniform policing in County Cavan, and I've been a member in Garda Síochána for 16 years. The sentences in relative terms may not be prison sentences, but they can often be suspended sentences, and the important thing to remember is that that means that they are incurring a criminal conviction which will remain on their record. That conviction will travel with them if they go abroad, if they go to America, if they go to Australia and they're seeking entry to that country. That record is disclosable to those authorities, and it may very well, unfortunately, prevent them from entering that country. In terms of closer to home, perhaps, if they're applying for a job, be it in the public sector or the private sector, there will be a record, and they will have to account to that for their prospective employer. And unfortunately, the reality is that might prevent them taking a job that they otherwise may have been offered.
Do you think people realise they're committing an offence when they agree to get involved?
I would say that there is an element of confusion amongst people as to whether they're committing an offence. We are trying to increase that awareness that people are committing an offence if they facilitate these online frauds, these scams, as people would know them colloquially. I think the other point, we have been singing this song, delivering this message for many years now in relation to it, and I think the awareness is out there with people. What they do with that awareness is the important part.
Why do you think people get involved?
I think there's an element of greed, and there's an element of greed in any of these offences in relation to it. It's an opportunist offence in a lot of instances. I suppose, as an example, if someone was to provide their bank details over social media to a person they never met before, they are being offered a quick buck. And I can see how that would be attractive. We're in a challenging economic situation, the cost of living is quite high, and being offered money for essentially doing very little is obviously appealing. But there's an old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true. That spur of the moment decision, it may often be, will have lifelong implications for people, and we strongly encourage people, and we'd appeal to them to be very conscious if they're made an offer in relation to providing their bank details, taking out money for someone, or some sort of variant of that, to be very careful and think about what they're doing.
I am now restricted. I can't go to America, I can't go to Australia, I can't go to certain countries that I really wanted to go to travel and visit because of this incident, and which makes me quite upset. That makes me feel quite sad that I had the criminal conviction. Quite stupid that I actually got involved in this in the first place.
People do suspect their account is being used to illegally launder money. What can they do?
In the first instance, do what you would always do and report it to your financial institution, and that should be your first call in any situation where you fear your account has been compromised or that it has been used for something that you didn't know about. I would then say your next call should be to Garda Síochána. I know there might be an element of apprehension or maybe even fear that by reporting something you could become complicit or be viewed as being complicit in it. The reality is, if you see a transaction on your account that you know nothing about it, and it's something that you need to report. So people shouldn't be anyway nervous about reporting these matters to the Gardaí. Fortunately, in the Cavan community engagement area, and with their assistance of detective members from the Louth Cavan Monaghan crime area, we've been able to set up a unit which is titled the Economic Fraud Unit in County Cavan, and I think it's probably indicative of the level of our concern and the level of incidents that are presenting themselves in relation to online fraud, electronic fraud, and that whole arena in relation to it. So the current trends of particular concern to us are the phenomenon of money muling. We also see a lot of what would be, I suppose, generally known as online fraud. That is, scam text messages. Despite the level of awareness that's out there and the level of messaging that's out there, people are still getting drawn into these issues, and they're providing details, and unfortunately they're becoming the victims of crime as a result. So they're the two main areas we see at the minute. In the serious crime sphere, we would see a large amount of money laundering. We're doing an awful lot of work around dealing with the proceeds of crime and cutting off that supply to those illegal or criminal groupings. This is not a single person, or these are organised criminal groupings that operate without respect for borders, without respect for jurisdictions, It can be, I suppose, mounted from any spot on the globe, and often is. These are industrial organisations, industrial criminal groupings that operate on a huge scale. They employ the latest technology. They're constantly evolving, and we as criminal investigators have to adapt and pivot to these various things. And I suppose something that you might note, or you might observe there, when we infiltrate those international criminal networks, money and online fraud are one aspect of it. But you will often find, and nearly always find, that you will have human trafficking, you will have drugs, you will have illicit property sales. So, these organised criminal groups aren't limiting themselves to just online fraud. They're involved across the whole sphere, and unfortunately, on each of their criminal enterprises, there are victims at the end of it, and often in the most traumatic circumstances. So it may just be a case of passing your details at a party to someone, your bank details, a friend, maybe a loved one, a family member in relation to these things. But in essence, they are facilitating criminal organisations that are wreaking havoc across victims across the world. No matter how small their involvement, it's facilitating a criminal enterprise at the highest levels. So I would encourage anyone, if they are approached to engage in this sort of activity, to make that report in confidence to An Garda Síochána and help us in our work to eradicate it.
Money muling is a significant threat to the financial system and economy, and Cavan Credit Union has an important role to play in identifying it and combating it. We recognise the growing sophistication of such fraud, and it's how important it is for our members to stay alert and informed. So we have had incidents of money laundering which has led to prosecutions by An Garda Síochána. We have a legal obligation to report any knowledge or suspicions of activity in terms of money laundering, and we have a dedicated anti-money laundering compliance officer who will report any suspicious activity to the Financial Investigations Unit within An Garda Síochána. Fraudulent activity would be a common occurrence among our account holders. I would say it has increased. Now we have 1,700 current accounts, and we would notice it to be more prevalent in current account holders where a debit card is attached. At Cavan Credit Union, we endeavour to compensate the member where possible. We have a dedicated member on hand who would deal with our third-party provider, who would investigate each case on a case-by-case basis and refund the member where possible. So the Board of Directors are aware of the risk of money muling and highlighting this risk and managing it. We also run dedicated workshops to our third level students every year. So our Money Mule awareness programme is run in partnership with An Garda Síochána. It's a 2-day event. We target transition year students up to 6th year students, educating them on money muling and the risks involved with getting involved with money mules. We hope to run this throughout the year, so we're hoping to run another event now in November this year.
I'm Mary McHale and I head up the Financial Crime Prevention Unit. I've worked in AIB for a number of years, and for the past year I have been heading up the Financial Crime Unit. So we have 3.35 million customers in AIB. There has been a number of accounts used for money muling purposes within AIB. So we have invested quite significantly in fraud monitoring systems, and we're continuously updating those as new fraud types emerge. So we will be monitoring accounts for unusual patterns of behaviour, and once we spot something like that, that's when we would reach out and proactively engage with customers. But we would advise customers to continuously check their own accounts, and if they see anything that they determine to be suspicious or a transaction that they're maybe not familiar with, to get in contact with us straight away, because the sooner they contact us, we will then be able to safeguard their account. If they have moved money, there's a better chance of us being able to recover it once they get in touch with us straight away. We will then, on a best endeavours basis, contact the bank who has received those funds and try and get that money back for you. There's a fair amount of different types of fraud that happen on people's account, and it is, rising. So we have a lot of text message fraud. We have a lot of, quite recently, a lot of safe account fraud where customers are being contacted and asked to move their money into what are deemed to be safe accounts, but in actual fact it's the fraudster's account. We have investment fraud, we have purchase fraud. So there's There are different types of fraud, and yes, it's on the rise. If you're contacted by somebody purporting to be from the bank and asking you to disclose your information, we will never ask you to disclose your information around code cards, PIN numbers, anything like that over the phone. And we'll never ask you to move your money into a safe account. So to avoid becoming a money mule, there's a couple of things that I'd say. So first off, if you get an unsolicited email or a contact through social media with an opportunity, to make some quick money, avoid at all costs. Secondly, if you're looking at working from home, make sure that the business that you're actually working from home from is a legitimate business and one that you can trust. Thirdly, I'd say never give your account details to anyone unless you fully trust and know them. Never allow your own account to be used for the movement of money by somebody purporting either to be your friend or somebody who's going to pay you for that. And never open an account in your own name for someone else. It's really important that parents understand the implications of money muling and have that conversation with their children in terms of, what the implications are going to be for you if you are found guilty of a money laundering offence, which is what money muling is.
I just wish if I could turn back time, I wish I could tell my younger self not to do it. Please don't do it. Please, please, please don't do it, because if he's can listen to me, I was young, I was in my teens whenever I got told this brilliant money-making opportunity. It is not worth it. The Gardaí will come and catch you when you're least expecting it, and you will have a criminal record, like me, for this. If something's too good to be true, don't do it. Please.